place known as the Jewel of the Caribbean Sea. A place where the Andres Mountains paint a picturesque backdrop against our sandy white beaches and mountains of cocaine. A place where we live by the words of our poet laureate, Pablo Escobar. Life is full of surprises, some good and some not so good. A place where the warm surprise of a fair trade cup of coffee is as likely to greet you as the savory aromas of a ripe plantain or a key of nose candy. A place where a hike through our lush forests, no destination in particular, can lead you straight into the wonders of one of our infamous drug cartel hideaways, as you ultimately find yourself on the timeless journey of being sold into the professional sex slave trade. A place that's pure Colombia. Join Mug Club today for $89 annually or try it mugless for $9 a month. Louderwithcrowder.com/mugclub. Our undercover unit here, they tracked us down and obtained some exclusive information.
They found her name on a hit list.
The police knew about it. A lot of people knew about it. Except for you.
I was not notified. My daughter had to notify me.
President Xi has publicly stated that the West is declining and China is ascending. Drugs, human trafficking, murder, espionage. Our Mug Club investigative journalism unit obtained the Nashville Shooters Manifesto. We had more information there. Think of how different your world would look. Think of how more informed you could be. Think of how more armed you could be with information to combat the media narrative that's put out there and have receipts to show for it. There are fewer evils greater on earth than the abuse and exploitation of innocent children. And often the perpetrators of this greatest of evils can be some of the most powerful and well-connected figures in the world.
We got to talk about Emily, okay? You got any weapons on you? No, I ain't got no weapons. Okay, let's go where people can't hear us if you don't mind. You need help with what exactly, though?
Not finding girls that are under 18 attractive.
The one day that I decided to do a long sip was bitter. Why are you in the dark there, Gerald?
I was just about to point to a light. Not
someone show him. Show him. Show the bad work. No. Okay. Show our poor work.
Spooky.
What is going on here?
Hold on. Let me smile. Doesn't work. Okay.
It's like a photo negative of the Cheshire Cat.
I thought it was Trudeau.
Oh,
it's crazy too. I reset the lights.
All right.
Through.
Well, afterwards,
Tim. I like mine better.
It's been a morning.
I do that to him in the office, just randomly.
I'm gonna hold on a second. I'm gonna Zoltar this. I see overtime. All right.
Without pay.
It's one of those. This is the first morning. I came in the first morning that I decided to take a really deep sip, and it's bitter.
It's bitter.
It's bitter. Is it
water?
It's like mud water. I just always have like some hot, just some hot tea for my.
Is that Haitian coffee?
Is it that Haitian coffee? Yeah. You know their dirt cookies in Haiti? They buy the dirt.
Special.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, Mission Control, bring that up. We'll talk about that in Mug Club. They purchased the dirt. Okay, glad to be with you. Run down here. What we will be talking about today. The Supreme Court ruling as it relates to Texas and the border. There's a lot of legalese here. The border bill the border law that we're talking about. And you know what? Okay, can Texas actually protect their own borders? Please? Everyone out there is saying the answer was yes. That's not correct. So a lot of people are getting it wrong. I want to make sure that you are armed with the proper information. Someone who's never armed with the proper information, figuratively, Don Lemon, he doesn't understand how medicine works.
Or hypotheticals.
or race or standardized testing. So I know this happened with Elon Musk, a couple days ago. We had to punt it from yesterday, but I think we have some pretty interesting facts for you as it relates to DEI.
We do.
And you not dying on the operating table. So we have a lot to get to and more. Number 2, Gerald Morgan, CEO. He has lights on him now.
I do. I feel a lot better now that I am visible.
Lit.
Good.
I wouldn't call myself lit because that just sounds weird. How are you?
Sounds weird.
There you are.
This is the first morning where I wasn't, we sit here, we have like a 10-minute countdown. We're in here, and I was like, I'm going to be late.
You
Because
made me nervous.
I'm going to tell you, it was a diet problem.
I don't think it's a diet problem.
It was a consumption problem.
Hot
and
sauce
the next
problem
day.
for you.
Yes.
Two red pouches.
I don't want to get into it.
You always forget how bad it is the next day.
I know. And then when you hear this, you know him, you love him, but most of all, you thank him for his service. He's going to be at Bricktown Comedy Club this Friday, March 22nd. Josh Firestein, how are you, sir?
I'm good. First day of baseball today. Very excited.
Good.
What?
Yeah, it's a dorky, nerdy sport that you guys don't know about.
Yes. It's the one with the stick, correct?
Yes, clubs, I would call
Clubs,
them.
yes.
Clubs.
At least it doesn't take 9
Clubs.
days like cricket.
No seals. Oh, that I've never played.
Yeah, it can take days to play cricket.
Ken.
Yeah. A lot of people who play cricket around here. A lot of student drivers. By the way, if at some point...
Drivers. It's a lie.
Ex-Brits.
Yeah, colonialization spares no one. If at any point today you're watching on YouTube and you see this, head on over to Rumble. We don't want you on YouTube anyways. It's a live show. Weekdays, 10 a.m. Eastern. Okay. This also happens to be my favorite month of the year because, we all here like the ladies. It's Women's History Month. Some fast facts.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
So, some information. In 1978, Sally Ride became one of the first 6 women to be selected by NASA as astronauts.
Oh, that's cool.
Fascinating.
So good for her.
Fact 2, Sally Ride then became the first woman in space in 1983.
That's amazing.
And fact 3, she also became the first person in space of any gender to ask for directions. Let's move on to...
Which way to the moon?
Is there like...
It'll be that big rock.
Is there like a
in front of
7-Eleven near there?
you. I have to pee.
Or like a Freebirds? Is the one next to that? There's like 19 between here and the moon as far as Freebird burritos. Then I don't know. Let's see. We can't get you to the moon with landmarks as directions. So...
Might be able to now with all those satellites.
You might be able to.
All of Elon's satellites.
The problem is they're moving.
Oh, that's true.
So you don't really know.
Fast, very fast.
Yeah, they're moving quickly. Hey, before we get into any of this, I'm not a fan of, when I say the Chinese, what I mean to say is the communist Chinese government. You could probably expand that slightly more broadly, but not in a way that's racist. Now, the Communist Chinese Party directly paid for, after we had Donald Trump write that speech where he was talking about China being the main exporter of automobiles, which is true, and it confused a lot of people. So right on cue, after the speech regarding the bloodbath, China, the Communist Chinese Party, dropped this propaganda video. It's the same people who did James Pond. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that?
Funny over there.
What?
It was James Pond. Like
Sounds
someone just
terrible.
said, oh, we need to have satire. Oh, wait, that's Japanese. Someone said, we need to have satire.
There you go.
So James Bond changed to P. To P, now joke, funny. Everyone have a laugh. James Pond. Did a whole video.
What you just did was funnier than anything.
And by the way, that was not funny. I'm trying to be descriptive. That was like the back of the DVD cover. So, what you're about to see, remember, state media paid for by the government. Let's watch it.
British detective on American soil, Sherlock Holmes is now on an electrifying investigation.
Sherlock.
Oh, those traditional car makers must be sweating bullets.
They're like old dogs slow to adopt new tricks, thinking they've already sniffed out the best backyard. Imagine video chatting
Pause
with a
real
boyfriend
quick,
and
really
see-
quickly. So I was raised in French Canada.
Yeah.
And, okay, for example, if I were to say fake speak French for me, just make up like you sound French. Do it, Josh.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. Now, those aren't words. Now, I grew up with a bunch of French kids who would tell me that English people sounded as... So I would say, okay, well, pretend speak English for me. And they would always do the same thing. They would go, Brook and Brack, Brook a Brisbane.
Like that's how they thought we sounded.
It kind of is.
Just a bunch of B's and K's.
Bresbin?
I don't know why. That's how the Chinese communists are doing English right now.
Yes, and also there is no thinking they have sniffed out the best backyard. That's not. No one says that.
That was far too clear. I can make out what you were saying.
I understand. I'm just saying that the actual words that they chose,
yes,
the old dog, new tricks. Fine, I get that. You nailed that one. They don't have. No one says the best dog sniffed out a backyard. What?
My hand in bush is better than two bird.
They're not even mixing metaphors here. They're just making them up.
I'm just glad to see Robert Downey Jr. doing yellowface.
Yes,
now, too.
exactly. All right, continue.
Karaoke when you're stuck in a traffic jam. Although I sincerely hope you will spare me from such a musical catastrophe.
Oh, you'd better worry about a traffic catastrophe first. Given my driving skills could get both of us gone with the wheels.
Then you've got to try autonomous driving.
Which is designed for me. So basically
Pause.
you're saying
It's like
Chinese.
AI translate.
That broad said it. No one here.
That was she said it.
And what you say? Gone with the wheel.
Gone with the wheel.
They really like puns, but don't understand them.
No.
They got it.
don't.
Yeah, they got a little wrong.
That's a play on the words. We're just changing a word. It's not really satire or parody, but we get that you're implying Asian ladies are horrible drivers, and to that we agree. Continue.
TVs are no-brainers with no drawbacks.
Not quite as one serious before.
Oh, you mean it takes ages to charge an EV, right? That's past tense. With Power Swap, you will be back on road in 3 minutes. Faster than Mrs. Hudson would realize her beloved cookies have vanished into thin air.
No. The problem is it takes ages to find a charger. We've got measly 170,000 public charging ports here in the US.
Pause. I don't know. Are they Chinese? Are they British? Are they American?
They're Chinese British citizens in America.
In America.
Hong Kong?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't.
Because that was under British control for a long time.
It could
It's mostly
be.
Chinese.
They said it at
people
the
that
beginning.
speak
They
English.
said it. Yeah.
I think they're in Poughkeepsie. Clearly, they're discussing in the first person as Americans.
They are.
Yeah, living in America and our electric vehicle charging problem. So here's the thing. Now I understand their motivation and backstory. I'm transfixed. Let's continue.
China has got millions. And here's the glaring problem. We are in the United States of America.
Oh, there you go.
What's wrong with our land of
Go back to
free?
China.
National security concerns?
Not yet. It's the Inflation Reduction Act, which not only imposes a 27.5% tariff on Chinese-made cars, but also renders them
Dramatic
ineligible
drop
for
in.
tax credits. The Tesla model doesn't qualify for a tax credit either.
You gotta be kidding, it's made in the US.
Its battery components are made in China.
I have to tell you, these Americans are clearly raise a very good point in their concern about Chinese car tariffs on the imports.
Yeah, they really nailing it on the tax brackets here. They
Tax
who's
brackets.
buying this?
I don't. Well, they're selling it. That's full on state media. Think about it. That's big budget communist Chinese party.
Yes.
Media. I'm surprised John Cena didn't appear.
What's wrong with land of free?
They have no charging ports. We have millions.
She said it's a national security threat. He goes, not yet.
Right.
I was like, wait, what?
Wait, hold on a second. Hold
yet.
on. Hold on a second. Did he say China has millions or we have millions?
China has millions.
Oh, okay, good.
And I'm like, go back.
Yeah,
go
he
back
stayed-
to your millions of
But he
chargers.
looks up.
He stayed consistent.
Has million.
Yeah, so you can ride them right into your concentration camps.
Perfect.
With autonomous driving. Cause I Chinese lady can do.
No, China is asshole.
Government, take you where you need to go. We
Yes,
know.
that's
you
right.
don't know.
Oh, look, Uyghurs. So. All right. And by the way, just to give you a brief fact check here, China overtook Japan to become the world's largest auto exporter. The United States is sixth. Okay, just to be clear. So what he said was correct. A lot of people were trying to say, no, that's wrong. That's an implication. In 2023, BYD overtook Tesla to become the top EV maker. I know what you're saying. Who's BYD? We'll ask those clearly American citizens. I'm sure they can.
Well, yes, absolutely.
in.
And Donald Trump knows this is coming to the United States because it happened in Europe. Europe is considering laws right now to keep them from dumping cars on the market and driving the prices down and basically being the only one left when the dust settles.
Would they be driving the prices down autonomously?
No.
It could be a bloodbath.
It's manual.
Could be
That's manual.
a bloodbath.
Yes. Yes. And by the way, just so you know, this is clearly posturing. Donald Trump is not actually talking about trade policy when he threatens, for example, to enforce a 100% tariff on Chinese imports. That's saying you better start playing by the rules or we're not going to play ball with you at all. He's obviously not planning on disallowing any Chinese vehicles whatsoever. He's saying what you are doing is dishonest. So that's posturing. That's hyperbole. And I get that people say, I wish Donald Trump didn't say these things. Here's the deal. We're going to talk with you as though you are adults. And so when someone says, I'm going to impose a 100% tariff on Chinese imports to the United States unless, I'm going to assume that you understand that is negotiating.
Well, even when he said it, he goes, and President Xi and I are good friends, but he knows how I deal.
Right.
That was basically saying he knows how I operate. I'm not going to let this stand, so we're going to have to come to a solution. Otherwise, 100% tariff on every car.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's what he does. He even said it. He gave you the context.
Yeah. And I don't think Xi Jinping is that good of a negotiator.
I don't think so.
100% tariff. How about 99? 99.5. Nailed it.
Nailed it.
I have no idea. I don't know if he's a good negotiator. Don't fact check me on that. By the way, none of this happens without you and Mug Club. And actually, Mug Club Undercover, just so you know, is teaming up with predator poachers. They've been working behind the scenes to expose some horrible behavior and some things that are bigger scale than maybe you may have been aware of in the past. None of it happens without you. Mug Club Undercover is entirely funded by you. YouTube would never allow it to be monetized. It's something that sponsors wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole outside of our own, and rightfully so. It's $89 annually, and you get this wonderful hand-etched mug. Or you can go mugless for $9. But we annualize our budget with these kinds of events that are very labor-intensive, and you support it. We thank you. So every time you see it, every time you see a pedophile get caught, a mug clubber gets its wings. So
It's beautiful.
Yep,
It's great.
let's go to the Supreme Court. You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
It was
John?
very confusing yesterday. It was like, no, yes, no,
Yes, no.
no.
So let's just sort of summarize this for you really quickly, okay? So what you've probably heard is that the Supreme Court ruled that Texas can arrest and deport illegals.
Which sounds reasonable.
We're talking about SB 4.
People have broken the law, right?
Right.
Illegally here.
So a lot of people want to say, hey, this is a great win. So people on the left are mischaracterizing this. Why? Because they are afraid of this, and of course they are trying to say this is racist. And people on the right are mischaracterizing it because they want to claim a win that hasn't really happened yet. I'm not suggesting ulterior motives. I'm just telling you the facts laid out. This is a pause right now. It's a pause, and Texas can't even enforce their own laws until it's resolved. And a lot happened in the span of 24 hours. Yeah. So that's where we are. Here's what, and comment below. Don't cheat if you're watching this as an archive, but if you're watching live, comment below what it is what is your understanding as to what has transpired with the Texas law in the Supreme Court. And then let me know if it's changed. It bothers us when we see a lot of misinformation out there. This is one of those stories.
The headlines were incredibly confusing yesterday.
Yes.
On every network. It was yes, it was no, then yes, then no late last night.
Right. Exactly.
I was like, wait, how does this even happen?
Precisely. Yeah. And I still don't understand it. So here's what the news coverage looked like if you were watching yesterday.
The Supreme Court ruled just a couple of minutes ago that Texas can continue to enforce a controversial immigration law that lets local police arrest and prosecute migrants. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez joins me from the White House. So, Gabe, yesterday it seemed like this decision was indefinitely on hold. There was a stay, and then suddenly today there is a ruling. What can you tell us?
Yeah, that's right, Katie. Well, we're just looking at that ruling right now and reading through it. But yes, as you mentioned, right now the Supreme Court letting that controversial law known as SB 4 go into effect. And that was the law that Texas had passed last year.
Now, let me just get it. I know I'm incredibly immature, but just the fact that news takes itself seriously. He's like, Yes, I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm doing my best.
And we started out, we're like, hey, what kind of haircut does that guy have? That's so weird. And then he looks up and we're like, now I know, but he notices the hair.
Why is there two of you?
He's my cousin.
I can't be the only one who saw that, right?
You're not. You're not.
Comment below. Or am I a child?
It's real.
Two things can be true. Now,
I guess that was at 1:30 Central yesterday.
That was at 1:30.
Right.
And then late last night, the Fifth Circuit blocked the law again. So basically, the Fifth Circuit said, here's what happened.
That sounds impossible,
Supreme
right?
Court said, you're going to have to solve this before it gets to us here. This is none of our business right now. And to give you an idea, let me give you a really quick recap. Texas starts enforcing its own laws, right? Texas says, we're going to arrest and deport illegals. It gets disputed by the Biden administration saying, you don't have the right to do that. Goes to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court says, hey, this is not something that we are going to deal with now. So Texas, you have the right to continue until lower courts figure this out that would be more appropriate. And then the Fifth Circuit Court says, actually, Texas, it is a pause, but we're not going to allow you to continue. That's exactly where we are. Does everyone understand?
Yeah, pretty much, right? So it's a stay that they're talking about. This is so stupid. The Supreme Court's like, this isn't our business yet. It's still, the constitutionality is still in the Austin court. It's not in the Fifth Circuit Court yet. It's certainly not at the Supreme Court yet, which is why a Fifth Circuit can overrule sort of a Supreme Court decision. Because that confused me yesterday. I was like, Supreme Court said it. The Fifth Circuit can go pound salt. Like, they can't do anything about it. And it was a stay that they were talking about. That's it. By the way, the arguments to figure this out in the Fifth Circuit are actually happening today instead of in April on the stay, not on the constitutionality. So that's why it's so confusing. But it's just like a bill being passed we talk about. When the House passes, it's like, that's not a bill, not a law yet. Still has to go through the Senate and get signed by the president. Right. That's what we're telling you right now. This is way, way far away from being done yet.
Yes, exactly. So don't concede defeat and don't claim victory. It's not even close. So let's walk you through exactly what this is so you understand it when it actually happens. And this is very important. It's very important because this is obviously to most voters the most pressing issue in this country, poll after poll after poll, which means the secret Donald Trump voter is going to be an open Donald Trump voter.
Yeah.
And this is something that will obviously likely set a precedent for other states. Do you have the right to protect your state? If the federal government is not doing its job, does the state have the right to ensure that its citizens are safe? Of course, I would argue yes. And I would argue, again, to libertarians, and I used to be one, this still would fall under the legitimate purview of federal government to secure our borders. When they fail to do so, someone else needs to step in. So first, what is this bill? We're talking about SB 4. Okay, this law was originally passed in 2023. Okay, it provides Texas police with broader powers to enforce immigration law. Hear this, if I'm remembering the clip correctly. Awesome guy.
SB 4 grants local law enforcement officers in Texas permission to detain, arrest, and in some cases deport those who have crossed the border without the proper documentation.
So they're deporting everybody that crosses the Texas border back to Mexico. So that's Haitians and Venezuelans and Nicaraguans and Salvadoranians and Hondurans and Canadians and Irish. Everybody who entered, that's what that law says.
Cool.
Yeah. You see a lot of Canadians crossing the southern border?
Especially if you can deport them to any country that you mentioned that we choose, like deport the Haitians to Mexico.
Yeah, and El Salvadoranians, that's not a people.
No.
It's El Salvadorans.
It sounded smart, though. I bought it.
Salvadoranians? He's just making up words now.
The Haitians would be the only people the Mexican drug cartel couldn't intimidate.
They couldn't. You're right.
I'm going to kidnap and kill your whole family. They're all dead from starvation. Papa Doc. I'm going to kill your children. I've been sterile for years. Too many dirt cookies. Now,
I'm going to kill you. And sweet release of death. Please do it now.
He's already swallowing an exhaust pipe.
I will help.
Yes. So the bill, basically, it's meant to target people who recently crossed. That's why there was some specificity here. And it does prohibit arrests in schools, churches, healthcare facilities. So,
which I don't like, by the way. What do you run to a church and you're safe?
Yeah.
Like, what is this, Ali Al Oxenfree? You got to get to a secret
you got
base,
a safe base.
Like, come on.
What is this, Zorro?
Yeah. Come on.
Sanctuary. Not here.
Made it.
Not at Joel Osteen's. Not enough cash on the world's walls. So the question would be, why would, it begs a question, right? Why would Texas need to pass a bill like this? In other words, something changed in 2023. Before 2023, they didn't need a bill like this. 2023, they said, we need a bill like this. Well, a big part of it is that terrorists have been constantly coming through the border.
Terrorists.
We're
not saying just, El Salvadorians or Haitians or anybody else who could possibly become a terrorist. People that have already joined the terrorist
Yes,
groups.
Exactly. Well, let me give you a very specific example. In Ohio, this Iraqi migrant, Shahab Ahmed Shahab. Sorry, Shahab. I need to read this. Shihab Ahmed Shihab. And I made sure that this is correct. Yes, Shihab appears in the name 3 times.
Not to be confused with Shihab Ahmed Shihab.
Yes.
Is that
it's a different guy.
Is that William Hung song? She-Hob. Oh, baby, when she cross.
Have that reporter on MSNBC. Can you read us the name? All right. Can I write it? Can I write it down, ma'am? She-Hob. All right. Ahmed. She-Hob. I already have that. She-Hob. Stop screwing with me. It's just a cross-eye. So just to give you an idea of the terrorists caught at the border under Donald Trump, there were 11, which is not great. I'd like to see zero under former Vice President Biden. 340 and counting.
What? And by the way, the number could be double that. Based on their own metrics, it could easily be double that. So
I guarantee you it's much more than double.
I 100% agree with you, but 340 is enough.
It's bad enough. Because you know what? Some people would say that 340 terrorists spoiled a whole bunch.
Terrorists. I don't understand. People, make sure, this is not hyperbole. Actual terrorists.
Actual terrorists.
People that we would fight and kill in other countries as terrorists, not just people from terroristic countries. These are actually card-carrying members, if that's such a thing.
I'm sure it is.
It blows my mind, and I'm like, am I living in some alternate reality where that's a really bad thing? That
these people have terrorist 401k match.
They do.
So,
terrorist dental.
And here's the thing. According to USA Today, you have nothing to worry about. Here's what they wrote. They wrote, Lake and Riley's death aside, illegal immigration is not behind crime. Well, hold on a second. The homicide rate by illegals is 1,500% higher under Biden than under Donald Trump. And illegal immigrants commit violent crimes at a multiple rate higher. I say that because it's very difficult to study because a lot of these numbers don't exist. Why? Because they're here illegally, to be clear. So you have to make inferences. So all of these references are available. Link in the description. The one that can be confirmed, homicide rate by illegals, 1,500% higher under Biden than under Donald Trump.
Also, 27% of all federal prisoners. Remember, we talked about that. Mexicans 3.5 to 5 times more likely to commit crime coming from here illegally. Okay, that's
criminal aliens. You said Mexicans.
No, the second one was Mexican.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Not good, but good that you separated.
I separated.
I love that headline, though, by the way. Lake and Riley aside, the one story that got famous?
Yeah.
Like the NFL going, Ray Rice aside, domestic violence is...
Good topsoil, like
I get if you're poor and you're eating dirt. I understand that, and that's a tragedy, and it's horrible.
Of course.
Okay.
Put that cookie down.
Ooh, this is good dirt. Lots of worms.
Yes.
Good dirt.
But that's also just poor spending habits. If you're really, really poor and you have to eat dirt, but you're purchasing dirt.
Or it's brilliant marketing.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
that dirt cookie salesman is the Ron Popeil of Haiti.
Yeah. I think me and Haitians have a different definition of wanting to buy land. I'm looking for a few acres to get away from the people.
Property rights, bitch. Nom, 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 nom. All right.
It's like Jack Sparrow always carrying land with him. He's like, look, I'm standing on my property. You can't touch me. I'm on my own property.
D is for dirt cookie. Good enough for me. All right. So, sorry, back to the thing. So what is the controversy over this bill? Because it would seem pretty reasonable, and most Americans say, oh, sure, terrorists coming over, people being killed, record number of border crossings and apprehensions where nothing is being done about it. Makes sense that Texas would say we need to do something about it. All right. Why the controversy? Well, okay, Texas feels that they have to do the federal government's job, right? And they believe that's obviously created an issue, as we just discussed. Now, Greg Abbott even pointed out, okay, here's the conflict. They believe that. The federal government says, we don't give a shit. That's really the controversy, just to be clear. So this is why it's going to court. It's, hey, you need to do something. We're not going to do anything. All right, we in Texas are going to do something. Nah, you can't do that. That's the controversy. Greg Abbott, he's a wheelchair guy, pointed out Biden's failure, okay, here at the border. And this is a quote from him. He said, Texas has the right to defend itself because of President Biden's ongoing failure to fulfill his duty to protect our state from the invasion at our southern border. Now, the federal argument is that this undermines foreign relations and injures its sovereign interest in enforcing federal law.
Well, hold on. Keyword enforcing.
There you go.
But you're not.
Right.
That's the whole thing. It doesn't injure your ability to it. You're injuring yourself.
Right.
You're not enforcing the law.
Yes. I'm breaking the law. In response, I just don't even know why we care what Mexico's diplomat has to say.
I know, but this is kind of funny.
So this is Mexico's top diplomat. Top.
Their president?
No.
No, someone else.
Top diplomat. Yeah.
They don't even have titles.
The guy's name is Roberto Velasco Alvarez, and he X'd out, our country will not accept repatriations from the state of Texas. The dialogue on immigration matters will continue between the federal governments of Mexico and the United States. And that basically means our people are going to come over and say, all right. That's a dialogue.
They're like Ticketmaster, no refunds.
Yes, exactly. This is so. Look, if we can't find common ground on the legitimate purview of the federal government, would we all agree? If you say that they have no right, for example, to even ban black tar heroin, if you say that they have no right to ban, the federal government has no say in prostitution, if you're a libertarian who believes in completely laissez-faire government, okay, there still is a government for some reason. Wouldn't enforcing national security be the only reason? Comment below. Now, that doesn't mean no bid contracts to military suppliers. I'm saying, doesn't it fall under the federal government's purview to ensure that the border of the country is secure? If not, I would argue you then support anarchy. So this is what is happening right now. And in Texas, by the way, they are effectively right now sending a message to California, Arizona, or New Mexico.
They're coming.
And California, not to be outdone, responded with the following.
Están aquí.
I guess they're already there.
I don't speak Spanish.
Yeah, well, they're here.
Is that what? Okay, good.
They're here.
It's like the poltergeist.
I don't speak Spanish now on principle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's good. We're being invaded. You better
have a national language. How about that? That's one. It's racist. Okay. Hey, by the way, Mexico top diplomat. What's your policy as it relates to immigration in Mexico? What's your policy of migrant citizens in your country? How does it relate to voting? How does it relate to public protests? How does it relate to owning waterfront property? Why are we the only ones in the United States who are expected to bear the burden for the rest of the world? And you cannot hold these two positions. All cultures are created equal. There is no superior country. And everyone has a birthright to come to the United States if they want to, because clearly it's better than their country. You cannot refer to these countries as shitholes, but we have to accept them because they're fleeing awful places. When it's not based on principle, progress for progressivism's sake, it always unravels. It can never be consistent. So what are we seeing right now is again, the latest decisions, it basically just says, Texas, pause, you can't enforce your own laws until the constitutionality, that's a tough word, very big words,
the biggest,
until that is determined, and that is going to be determined, at least the first time, in an Austin court.
Yes. Then it could get sent to the Fifth Circuit, and then ultimately this obviously would arrive at the Supreme Court, because neither side is seeming to back down.
Right.
So I hope that's what happens.
It's also why I have no faith in the justice system.
Yes.
It's not black-white, to be clear. It depends on the judge that day. The fact that you can have a judge who says, actually, it's unconstitutional to have borders, or have another judge say, actually, you have the constitutional right as the state of Texas to enforce these laws if the federal government has abandoned its post. You can have the exact same case, same lawyers, and it depends on how the judge feels that day. And this is why we need to get political activism out of the judicial branch.
Well, and specifically in this case, it's inaction. Right. So the Fifth Circuit basically punted this out at least a month, probably just a little over a month. And the only reason that they're hearing arguments today on this is because of the Supreme Court's decision saying, hey, you guys have to sort this out at the lower level. So they would have just let this problem continue on and on and on. And so when we're talking about monthly figures of 350,000 or 300,000 coming into the United States, how many of those are coming into Texas? Well, we know how many are coming through Eagle Pass now. None. Because they actually solved the problem. But how many are coming from 100,000, 200,000 in Texas, maybe more? That's that many more people that are now here, and that much worse of a problem. If you could have heard the arguments today from the very beginning, why didn't you schedule it for today from the very beginning? Yeah. Stop punting this stuff down the road and start hearing the cases that matter to Americans right now, because maybe Laken Riley's alive. Maybe if sanctuary cities weren't a thing, Laken Riley would be alive. Maybe if people called ICE when they had somebody who was actually committing a crime and said, hey, that person needs to go and we don't care what the Mexican senior official said on X, Laken Riley would be alive. Get your jobs done, guys.
Top diplomat of Mexico. Respect the office.
That's, I don't know what the title is, though.
It's top diplomat.
Yeah, but that's
title
not an
is
actual title.
soon to
It's a
be chased out of Mexico.
Yes.
By the cartel.
Yeah, whoever the cartel puts in power. Got it.
And by the way, we've also talked about, we're going to discuss Don Lemon not understanding medicine or anything. Crowdershop.com. Now there is a PS5 giveaway. Every single purchase is an entry, and we're going to be announcing the Ford Raptor truck giveaway, $10,000 tomorrow.
Yeah.
What is it you have? Toolman.
Yeah.
Show them.
Secure our border.
There you go. Yeah. Very nice.
Secure it. That's barbed wire and a guy with a gun, problem solved.
Now, if you wear that shirt, you know, chin down, hands up.
And don't go to on the border.
Yeah, just very careful. Yeah. That sounds like more of a what is it? Elkin. What's another Mika Sina's day. What's on the border? What's the other Mexican franchise? Not Taco Bell. What's the other Mexican franchise across? What do you have?
Chewy's is one.
There's different ones all across the country.
Chewy's on the border.
It's terrible.
I'm thinking of one. There's one that make a salsa.
They do?
Chili's?
No, not chill. New York City.
What do you mean that makes a salsa?
Right.
Hold on, now
there's another franchise that make Chi-Chi's.
I love Chi-Chi's.
I like Chi-Chi's too.
What?
Yeah, Spanish for boobs.
All of you guys.
Yeah, well, no, I don't care.
He's not a Chi-Chi guy.
He's not a Chi-Chi guy. Boy, that really woke him up. Now he's passionate.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not a boob guy.
Yeah.
No me gusta.
Jeez.
All right. Don Lemon. Part of me didn't want to even talk about this today because
it's so funny.
No one cares about Don Lemon anymore. Just let him go away.
I know.
But I will say this. I've seen this with a lot of people who are on mainstream networks, you know, whether it's CNN, whether it's Fox News, MSNBC, whether it's, you know, ABC. For example, there are people like at The View who have tried to make these things work online, their content, and they're worse off for having done it. Right? When you don't have an entire crew of makeup, of writers, of the talking points that are given to you, of commercial breaks, so you have this safety net of never having to discuss something for longer than 6 minutes. They say, oh, you know what? I'm going to go into podcasting.
Good luck.
And it's like you are worse off for people seeing that contrast. There's some who do it well. For example, Jedediah Bila, I know I know at Fox News for a while, and she was on The View. And she does some really good stuff out there now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some other examples. Megyn Kelly has done obviously pretty well for herself and her show work. She's still kind of doing Sirius XM though, so there's some support. But sometimes you see someone and say, oh, okay, when they're unfiltered, they're better. And sometimes you see someone unfiltered and say, oh, they were using someone else's talking points. Guess which one Don Lemon is.
Or if they have to deal with a comment section for the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
Oof. I love that you said the makeup part, because when the Don Lemon video plays, you'll understand why.
Yeah. Yes.
Looks horrific.
It's like he looks like he's a member of a civil rights turtle club. So
I think he looks like a dog that just got cosmetic surgery.
It's like a dog who just came back from the groomer.
Facelift, yeah.
So this was an interview, and more importantly, Don Lemon does not understand the point that Elon Musk is making. And again, this is a point that there's such a disconnect between the Don Lemons of the world and remember the Brian Stelter. Stelter.
Yeah.
Was it Brian Stelter?
It's white, yeah.
I was just thinking of Brian Setzer. It was Brian Stelter. That's
Setzer,
right.
what?
That's how long ago it's been. Brian Stelter doesn't understand. You have people at MSNBC. They're so disconnected from you, the average American. If I were to say to you, hey, when you are going to go under the knife on an operating table, you want the best doctor possible. You want to know that that doctor is as qualified as possible. Race, gender is likely the furthest thing from your mind. You probably go, sure. Don Lemon doesn't have a chip in his brain to compute that. So here he is with Elon Musk talking about race and DEI in medicine.
I believe that if we lower the standards for what it takes to become a doctor.
You're saying if we lower the standards,
yes.
But do you believe people are dying because the standards are being lowered?
I don't think that is yes an issue, but it could become an issue.
Okay. Most doctors now are white. And there are lots of mistakes in medicine. So you're saying that
so just make them all black guys.
White doctors have bad medical care? I'm trying to understand your logic here when it comes to DEI because there's no actual evidence of what you're saying.
Pause really quickly.
That's
the reverse nirvana fallacy. That's it hasn't happened yet, so let's just upend everything. That's the problem with a lot of, the entire progressive movement. It's destroy for the sake of destruction with no actual solution in place. You just saw it with the border. Well, we haven't seen it yet, so wouldn't the solution just be replace all the white doctors with black doctors? No. Continue.
White, are you saying that and there's still these inequities, right? And there's still mistakes. Are you blaming DEI for that?
No, I'm very basically saying that if we lower standards for what it takes to become a board-certified surgeon or an oncologist or something where the kind of disease we're talking about, if you make a mistake, causes someone to die, then more people will die than if we don't lower the standards. Therefore, we should not lower the standards.
So we'll go through this point by point. First, Dylan says, most doctors are white. Forgot about Dre. And that's something that we thought he would know. He should know better.
That's true. That was more of an honorary.
Yeah.
To do a series of operations under the supervision of a senior surgeon, and they get a bunch of those operations wrong. If that happens, and yet they are still approved to be a surgeon, the probability that someone will die, I think, at some point is high.
Okay, I understand that, but that's a hypothetical. That doesn't mean it's happening.
If we lower standards, people will die.
But why respond to something or put something out there that has not happened? Because I could say,
because I don't want it to happen. I think we don't want to lower standards.
Obviously. That's the obvious answer.
They do this all the time.
I know.
The left. They say, well, it hasn't happened yet.
Well, it's the same thing with election stuff.
Could
Not to
use
muddy
that,
the
yeah.
waters a little bit, but it's like, oh, well, we don't have any evidence that this stuff has happened, so why prepare? Okay, well, this bank has never been robbed. Maybe we shouldn't have counters. Maybe we shouldn't have gates. Maybe we shouldn't have bulletproof glass.
And of course, this interview has made international headlines everywhere, and that's something that that's a good Photoshop. Now, let me, and it's true because it hasn't happened yet. Now, that is true. So I cannot tell you that what I'm about to present is definitive as to how DEI would affect performance in the medical field. But we have to make an inference based on the data that we have. Yeah. All right. So let me give you an example. Black Americans, and of course, Black Americans are the primary beneficiary of affirmative action, right, in college. They drop out of STEM fields once they're in college at almost 2 times the rate of everyone else.
Wow.
So the overall dropout rate is 35%. The Black STEM field dropout rate is 65%. And Thomas Sowell has talked about this. We've discussed it. When you place someone into a program for which they are not qualified in a way that can be quantified, right, as far as test scores, as far as effectively their resume going into college, you're actually harming them by putting them at a disadvantage competitively. Right. And then that ends up harming them through wasted time. So 2 times the dropout rate. Now, this would be, for an example, let's say that's in medical school. Okay, 2 times the dropout rate. If you apply affirmative action in the professional space, meaning no longer education, but now you're applying it so they are getting jobs, the inference would be they would be more likely to have a 2 times failure rate to some degree than everyone else. The failure rate there involves you dying.
It's kind of a big deal.
A little bit.
Get into the STEM field, get into twice the dropout rate in medical school if it's affirmative action. Apply affirmative action to the actual medical office, making an inference. That's not you could die, or at least get sick. You could end up looking like Don Lemon.
That's true. Nobody wants to look like Don Lemon. But don't think that medical mistakes are not a big factor. It's the 3rd leading cause of death in the United States.
Sure.
Like, this is massive. So if you screw with the 3rd leading cause, you'll probably make it the 1st leading cause.
Exactly.
The primary leading cause of death.
So before we get to some of these facts, again, what Elon Musk is saying is, no, hold on a second. We're just saying, wait, hold on. You need to be the best person for the job. And then Don Lemon said, well, you still have a lot of issues in the medical field. Okay, so your solution is more black people? Let me provide other solutions. And by the way, I'm not saying less black people. Better qualifications and standards. Now, you guys can comment below.
I heard it as just less white people. That's what I heard it as.
Yes, less white.
He wants more Indian and Asian doctors. I'm all for it.
Not the best bedside manner. Your baby die. Your baby don't die. We'll be adult. We all have things happen to us.
What?
I've had quite a few
nicely,
Asian
Doc.
doctors.
Come on.
And by the way, my doctor, you guys have had Dr. Choi?
Yeah.
It's tremendous. But he was talking, he's like, many of these people, they come from countries, it's not the same. They want to get good job, become doctor. Not like American kids say, I want to help kids. They say, make money. But I say, these are people. They have feelings. They come in scared. I'm like, okay, thank you. It's true. It's true. I'm just saying. So, solution, more black people, or solution, higher standards. You comment. You can comment. That's based on, this is why when people say, I take everything on an issue by issue basis. Sure, absolutely. You should take into account the data of the issue. But this is a fundamental difference in worldview. He uses the word inequities. Okay, this is the fundamental difference in worldview. Your solution is going to automatically be more black people versus the solution, by the way, of people like Thomas Sowell, who happens to be black, the solution of better standards. Okay, that's the solution because inequity, inequality. You cannot support equality and support forced equity, to be clear. People will say it's not about equality, it's about equity. Equality is about ensuring that everyone has the same opportunity. Equity is ensuring, is mandating outcomes through the force of the government, through the iron fist of the government. Equality, freedom, equity, fascism. You can dress it up however you want. No, I'm enforcing equity in the name of black people. It doesn't matter. You are rigging the system. You cannot be a freedom-supporting American who believes in equal opportunity for all while saying you want to correct inequities through the government. It's not possible. Also, I look at this issue, and I'll give you some stats, and I see a beautiful thing when you look at the statistics regarding the race of doctors in this country. Let me give you some examples here. Let's go through some key facts here. Number one. He talks about the race of the doctors. Okay. In 2021, there were about 950,000 doctors in the United States of America. Okay. Whites made up 63%. So he said most doctors, I guess that's true, white. Asians made up 20%. They make up about 3% of the population. Hispanics, 6.9%, blacks, 5.7%. So are black people underrepresented? Well, sure. Are Asian Americans overrepresented? Absolutely. Now, I wouldn't say overrepresented, meaning that's wrong. It means that there are more Asians in comparison to their population portion here in America, their percent of the population, than in many other professions, which tells me, hey, that means that Asians, who are a smaller minority than black Americans, and by the way, have been discriminated against, I don't know if you know about World War II, can become doctors at a higher rate than white people. By the way, don't know if you know this, Jews have been persecuted in this country at one point in time. A lot of Jewish doctors that would fold into white. Hey, you've been persecuted. You are a minority in this country, but there is a higher percentage of your minority population being represented in the medical fields, which means that you can do it. We're looking at the exact same statistics. Let me give you some new ones. In 2023, 2024, those being enrolled, accepted into medical schools, white 41%, Asian 26%, Hispanic 6%, black 8%. Here's an interesting thing right there. The white numbers are going down, surprise. The Asian numbers are going up. That actually is a surprise. So the first one was sarcastic. The second one is surprising considering that they literally have guards in front of Harvard going, no Asians, stop! Hispanic, black, still the same percentage.
Black went up a little.
Little bit.
But this is one of those things that I don't care. Unless it's 100% one and zero of all the rest of them, then I really don't care. I just want the most qualified people. And by the way, why do you think every single job, field, or profession has to be equally represented by race? It doesn't. Some races choose not to go into a field specifically more than others. Like Asians becoming doctors, maybe it's drilled into them as kids. Hey, become a doctor. That's the way you become successful. Maybe in other races, it's, hey, become another kind of professional, become a sports star, become a singer, whatever. That's what success looks like. That's fine. I don't care. I just want somebody that doesn't kill me when I get a colonoscopy.
Right.
I'm just saying it should be a simple procedure.
And you're at that age. You have them coming up.
I mean, thank you for saying that.
Coming all the way up.
Yep.
Asshole. Yes.
By the way, they're not supposed to use a periscope, just so you know. I think. Probably need to have a conversation with your clinic.
Do some prison time, Doc?
So, here's another fact for you, that medicine is, of course, becoming more woke. And I would ask you to answer this. Does anyone out there actually believe that there is a discrimination against black people in the medical field in the United States today where they cannot get jobs? Or do you think it's more likely that they, of course, would readily accept a black doctor, all things being equal, above a white doctor or an Asian doctor? Comment below. That's you making an inference, but let me give you some stats. The major medical schools right now across this country, they do emphasize DEI. Again, diversity, equity, inclusion, just to be clear. UCLA, they require that med students take DEI classes. Ugh. Because that's important for an anesthesiologist.
So pull it back up. What the name of the class? Structural Racism and Health Equity.
Mm-hmm. University of Minnesota's School of Public Health, they post a land acknowledgement statement here.
What?
For the Dakota people, I'm sure that it just makes up for everything. They're fine with it.
How does this help with my acid reflux?
They're not trying to fix that.
No, they're not trying to fix that one.
Things ever.
They're trying to make sure that.
I hope that's on a test.
Yeah. But we
I hope
named
that's
the
right in
building
between,
after
yeah.
your people.
What? Even though some of them are cannibals. Now,
Sure, yeah.
and Ben Shapiro actually did some great work and uncovered that there was this effort actually to actively stop hiring white male surgeons at the Duke University School of Medicine. So here is, I believe we have a clip. This is Duke surgical resident Vignesh Raman, part of that 26%, bemoaning having to treat conservative patients.
You know, the thing is, we are in the South, right? And unlike a lot of the hospitals in the Northeast or in the West, we serve a very Southern population. This is not a VIP hospital. People are not flying in from Qatar to get treated here. We treat patients who are just from the community in the South. And yes, my heart sinks every time I go into a room and I watch them watching Fox News, or they have a MAGA hat on, or they're wearing a Confederate belt.
Move to the Northeast then.
These are the patients that we treat. But Geraldine, I will say that the one very good thing about the South that I enjoy is exactly what I alluded to earlier, is that we don't treat VIPs. We treat people from our community. And our community, as Auri explained, is majority non-white. And it is wonderful to treat such a diverse group of people in every regard. And that's not an experience that I had in my sabais in other places, or that my friends have training in other programs.
Okay. I don't like him.
Why would that be a good or a bad thing? Treating a diverse community versus treating, what if you're in an inner city and it's all black patients? Are you saying it's a bad thing to treat a less diverse community because of where you happen to be located?
Right.
Because so many hospitals are like that.
Yeah.
They're in these different areas, and it's just it's wonderful to treat diverse people. I hate it when MAGA people come. It doesn't matter. It's a person who needs medical attention. Period.
Think about where we are. These doctors, these institutions are saying, we have to take into account race, you have to take into account background, you have to take into account community, you have to take into account income. All we're saying is doctors treat sick patients. Spot the racism. By the way, the American Medical Association, they're also pushing for DEI and health equity. Now, again, let me be clear here. If you are doing that, then that means, first off, this is something new. Right, the idea of DEI, health equity, right? This is relatively new, and there's an aggressive push, which would mean that they are displacing a different standard, right? Before DEI and health equity, they're saying you need to place an emphasis on this, as opposed to what? Well, this brings us to fast fact 4. Medical schools, hospitals are giving far less weight now to actual test scores and objective metrics. So the Association of American Medical Colleges, they actually want less reliance on GPA and the MCAT scores for applicants. Right? They recommend a holistic review of med school applicants. And here's a quote. It says, that consider each applicant individually by balancing their academic metrics with experiences and attributes.
That article said it will gradually increase the number of black students.
Right.
Well, they have to send in a photo of themselves.
Yes, exactly.
Send in a headshot.
It used to be, hey, we would base it. Hey, isn't there something beautiful about test scores being blind?
Yes. Injustice.
Send in a headshot and let's do a face-to-face interview. Melanin, you're in. There's also a push to stop using the United States medical licensing exam, using those scores in taking consideration using those scores at all. I know. This is true. All references available at loudoutloud.com. In granting residency to med students. And this is why. They say, why? So, again, there is kind of, they will accuse you on the right of A or B thinking, of black or white thinking. They will accuse you of that. But hold on a second. Test scores? Race. Test scores? Race. And this is their own argument. They said that using scores results in racial inequities because blacks are 3 to 6 times less likely to get a residency interview if the scores are used. So they advocate, and by the way, this should instill confidence the next time that you have to undergo anesthesia. What they advocate is rather than taking scores into consideration, just a pass or fail.
I want my white doctors to have high scores too, by the way.
Yes.
Just so you know. I don't want a white doctor that failed a test, okay?
You're going to breathe this in, count backwards from 10. Hey, what were your test scores? I passed.
Yeah, no thanks,
Hold on, what's
Jerry?
the threshold? 50, 60? Like,
I don't know.
What % is pass?
And they also, by the way, they've already modified some of the rules to shrink the racial gap proactively by adding, quote, communication and interpersonal skills. Now, I'm not even sure that that's going to help black people. I'm not going to lie to you.
Look, if we're going to do stuff, at least make it effective.
I mean, I don't necessarily know. I think maybe that's designed to block some Asians. I'm not going to lie. Test scores, race, your life. And Don Lemon is arguing for this as though Elon Musk is a fascist. Yeah. Think about this. This is the world we live in. This brings us to another fact, okay? The polls already show that, in case you didn't know this, you watching right now, you probably don't really care about the race of your doctor. Okay, the polls show that neither does anybody else. So, UPenn patients who were satisfied with their doctor, the number was about 87% when the doctor and patient were of the same race. The number was about 82% when the patient and the doctor were of a different race.
Tiny difference.
Statistically insignificant.
But we'll kill you just because we have people out in the field that maybe don't have the right skills. But hey, we got to make up that 5%.
Well, I would say that if it's 87 and 82, both are pass scores, so the rest is irrelevant.
Change this to pass.
That's a B.
It's a pass or fail.
You know what? You know what, Don Lemon? I'll make a deal with you right now. I think we should have 13% of the population from the black community be doctors, 13%, right? That's what they make up the community. As soon as you represent 13% of the violent crime in the United States. If we're going to put everything back to where it's supposed to be from every single group on every single metric that we possibly have, then let's play fair. Let's have an open field for it. Every single thing has to be 13%. Otherwise, you're underrepresented or overrepresented. We can't have that.
Exactly. That's a good point. We have to enforce it.
People are going to be pissed that I said that. I don't really care.
Otherwise, how do we know it's fair? Unless it's 13 on the dot.
On the dot.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 13.1.
No. That would imply freedom of choice.
No, but maybe it's the population is 13.1.
Well, I don't know, but the point is it can't be a decimal point off. Otherwise, it would imply that they have freedom of choice to choose their own careers. Also, there needs to be 63% of NBA players white. And sprinters.
Imagine putting this into sports.
Yeah, you know what? At the Olympics, they might be 63% white. They just all lose.
Yes, exactly.
Sweden's not bringing home the gold. You know what I mean?
Yes,
they're not. The Russian sprinters.
Yes. To the rest of the world, the dream team is the Black Nightmare. And that's a very good point. To use an extreme example, okay, it's 13% of the population. We need to enforce that in the medical field, but not all not all Hispanic Americans are going to have the aptitude to be doctors, or they may choose not to. Enforce 13%, the Olympics, swimming pool, make it 13% black. Go. You'll have deaths.
Also, a lot of Hispanic people identify as white. It's like on forms it says Hispanic, and then it says Hispanic non-white, and a lot of people just write Hispanic.
Right.
Whatever.
Or some people don't say
I think those
Hispanic.
numbers are a little bit off by a couple percentage, probably.
I always thought that was weird with Hispanic and Hispanic non-white. Like when you purchase a firearm, you have to state twice.
Yeah, that's weird.
It is weird to me. That's one that I'll give to you. It seems a little discriminatory. So what does this kind of show us here? It comes down to your worldview. Do you believe in equality or do you believe in equity? Do you believe that medical students and doctors should be determined by their scores, by their performance, or by an enforced number of equity? Do you believe that there should be a holistic, meaning an approach looking at a sort of unquantifiable, nebulous variables, or tests, performance, mortality rate? do you agree with most Americans who don't actually care about the race of your doctor? And here's something, too. I look at this and I see something. The left sees discrimination in everything. I look at it and I say, wow, you know what? This is actually something coming to fruition. The American dream. Like I said, 14% of the United States doctors, they're Jewish. 2% of the population. I think now it's actually, sorry, I misspoke earlier. I think I said 3. 7% of the population is Asian. 26% of enrollees. The first doctor in the United States to separate conjoined twins was Dr. Ben Carson, who's also a professional lullaby singer.
He's very good.
Very good. Yeah.
So that is an example of class mobility.
Yeah.
And the left wants you to Asians haven't. Do you know about the railroads? Do you know about the internment camps in World War II? You think in World War II, Japanese people. Sorry, no, I sound like
Sound like
you were there.
You think it really? Oh, no. You haven't seen what I've seen, bro.
He's doing your RFK impression.
Yes.
God.
Sorry. I could separate conjoined twins.
It's unbearable.
If I had the opportunity. What?
I don't even know what that means.
I got the Kennedy albatross around my neck. They wouldn't accept me to medical school. That's not true at all.
No, it's not.
Couldn't even be a Nick Nolte stand-in.
Nice. Wow.
Despite you making up 2% of the population, gosh, think about the rate, 14% of doctors. Good for you, Jewish Americans. Despite you having probably your parents, your grandparents being put in internment camps, you now make up 26% of doctors. And look at that. Look at these exact statistics and say that's a beautiful thing.
And how many of these people are immigrants?
Exactly.
Here on visas or here on...
legally.
I would be willing to bet that far more of those Asian American doctors are immigrants, either first generation or second generation, than black Americans. I would be willing to bet. I don't have the statistics in front of me.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing too. Not the comparison, but the fact that that's the American dream.
Yeah.
Come here, make a life, pass the test, don't drop out.
Those numbers show that there's clearly a choice, and different groups of people make different choices. Now, you can look at all of that and say, racism, we need more blacks. That's really all Don Lemon is saying. He's not saying we need more Asians. He's not saying we need more Jews. He's not saying we need more Hispanics. He's not saying any of those things. He's not saying we need more Cuban Americans. He's not saying we need more Brazilian Americans. He's not saying we need more Swedish. No, he's saying more blacks. Needs more blacks. With no justification other than blacks. I think that's racist. By the way, none of this happens without you. Mug Club, $89 at louderwithcredit.com/Mug Club. And tomorrow we have the Undercover investigative journalism piece that will be coming out. Do we want to run this New York Times Gaslight before Mug Club? Or
No.
I went over time.
We'll do it after. Yeah.
This is what happens. Is I go over time.
It happens. It's
Josh, you're going to be at Bricktown Comedy Club this Friday?
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I got the allergies today. I'm a little under, but Friday I'll be better. I got a show at Tulsa. Should be fun.
I got something that'll clear that right up.
You sound like I feel.
You need some clear?
That's what they
got
did. I would do the commercials. Ricola.
That's
but it doesn't work. I do a great stuck on Band-Aid brand because Band-Aid stuck on me.
Can you do a Marlboro commercial?
I could do Oscar Mayer.
Please don't sing it. It's hurting. It hurts inside.
My hot dog has a first name. If you're watching on Rumble, first off, deodorant is a government mind control chemical. Aluminum. And you can subscribe to Mug Club and watch the rest of this. If you're watching on YouTube, you can, and by the way, I don't know if you know this, if not for the additives in food, none of us would ever urinate. That's your body telling you it's toxic. So this is just colloquialism. YouTube, piss off.